started talking about, we was watching something on TV, and he said, well, I was in Nicaragua. And I said, but Daddy would always drop little Spanish words to us, you know, adios, amigos, and I said, is that where you learned to speak some of them Spanish words? And he said, well, when I was over there, he said, the troop that he was in, he said that, they were somewhere out in Nicaragua. He probably told me where, but I don't know. But he said that they traveled on horseback back in them days. And he said he wasn't about 17 or 18 years old, and he was in the Navy. But he said they traveled on horseback, and he said he and another boy were the youngest two in the crowd, and said that when it got night times, that particular night, said that they had to take the horses, and the men would stay away from the horses, and they'd bring the horses over and hobble them up and leave them in a place where they could kind of graze and lay down and stuff. And he said that they made him and that younger boy, the two youngest ones, made them stay where the horses were, but Daddy said that there was a little rise, and then the horses were out there, and he said he and that boy bedded down to where they could see just right across that rise, and said that sometime during the night, he said they got to hear horses coming and heard voices, and said that young boy beside him said, get your gun out. He said, we're going to start shooting as soon as we can see them. And Daddy said, no, put your gun up, they might not see us. Said, you know, if we start shooting, we don't have a chance in the world. So Daddy said that the boy listened to it, but said they come on in and took the horses and took Daddy and that boy captive. And said, he said that they walked, he wouldn't let them ride a horse, they walked them all night long. And said then the next day, they walked them all that day. He said they would give them a little cracker or something and some water, but said that's all they had. For about 24 hours there, he said they just kept walking. And he said then that after the 24 hours, he said the night they brought him back, and they brought him, Daddy didn't know that he was back close to where his troops were, but said that they brought him back and just turned him loose. And said they walked on until they found the people that they was supposed to be with, their troops. And Daddy said that, and that's all he told me about it. And I didn't know, that was about 30, 40 years ago he had told me about that. But then, when I was in home health, I got started going up to Aunt Ruby Cole's house, and I'd give her shots, and I'd have to wait 20, 30 minutes after give a shot before we could leave. So anyway, while I was there that day, she got a picture out of Daddy. I wish I'd brought that picture, but she got a picture out of Daddy when he was really young. And she was telling me what a handsome brother she had and everything. And she said, did you ever know about Pa praying through when Roy was in service? And I said, no, I had never heard nothing about it. She said, Roy didn't tell you about it. I said, no, I didn't know anything about it. And she said, well, at that particular time, she said that night, and it coincided with the exact same time that Daddy was taken prisoner, or captive, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, she said that night, she said she was asleep, and said Grandpa woke her up, woke all of them up, and said, get up, come on, get into the living room. And said, I'll probably cry, but don't pay no attention. But said that Grandpa said, everybody get in the living room, and said there was one or two of the boys already married, and said they sent one to the others, said go and get them over here. Said we've got to pray through, said something's wrong with Roy. Well, Ruby said that they all got up and got in the living room, and said Grandpa was on his knees, Grandma was, and the others come in, and they were all, she said she was just kind of little, and said she would go off to sleep, but said when she would wake up, it'd still be praying. And said they prayed way on up to about morning, and said that she said she thought they was going to pray forever. But said he kept saying something was wrong with Roy, they had to pray, and said he was praying hard for Daddy, and said that up in the morning, said that Grandpa got up and said, he said, Ethel, start some breakfast, said Roy's going to be okay.
Amen.
And they didn't know anything about what had happened to Daddy, until Daddy somebody had come and told them after that, Daddy was all right, that, he had been taken captive, but he had been released and he was back with his party and said he was fine. So, I thought that was an amazing story, but I got part of it from Daddy and part of it from Ruby, so.
I didn't get that part from Mother, so that's why I'm
That's
so
two
glad that you
witnesses
did.
right there, and that's all you need is two witnesses.
Yeah.
Did you know, who it was that captured him, Sterling? Who the,
From the best that I've kind of tried to study up on and see if I could figure that out. But the best that I could come up with is that, I don't remember if Daddy told me or whatever, but there was kind of like in Nicaragua, I think there was probably like a little bit of civil war going on, was raging, and that's the best I can imagine. I don't know for that for sure.
and someone else had told that he, escaped, is that in your story, or?
Well, he told me they turned them loose, and then they was able to make their way back and find the other people they were with, the ones they were supposed to be.
That's my mistake. I thought he had escaped, that they're evidently released.
Yeah, he said they did release them. He said they like walked them to death,
Oh, my goodness, yes.
but he said,
Either way, that's his prayer answered right now.
Absolutely.
That's the gist of it.
And what it was, they didn't want to mess like Green Boy.
They would help him with it, they would be young.
Couldn't afford to
Back
feed him, right?
in my younger, when I was little and all, I can remember people talking about praying through. And it ain't just, jumping down and saying a little prayer and getting back up. You tell people praying through.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
So
I
I'll
tell you
start.
what, my whole life seems like a prayer. I know he says pray without ceasing.
but it still is, Mary, because we're
Yes, it
still
is.
praying for you constantly.
And, it's still going,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
As I go about my house, I got pictures of everybody we ever knew about, Carol's and mine. And
But,
prayer without ceasing is what it says. And you don't have to
they
be
don't
on
remember
your knees.
prayer,
If you have
that's
to be
what
on-
praying through means.
Yes.
But I could tell you some more, but somebody else is telling me.